Hello, folks. This is Joe from My Geek Scene, and welcome to the special audio edition of the Grand Rapids Comic Con 2019 review. 2019 marks my sixth year attending the Grand Rapids Comic Con, and it also marked, I believe, the fifth year being held at the Grand Rapids DeVos Hall located in downtown Grand Rapids. While attending this year, I noticed that a lot of the same positive things from last year had pulled over into this year. I like the fact that the majority of the con was held in one central location, that being the DeVos Hall downtown. There was no more going back and forth between the Amway Grand and DeVos, except for one panel room, which I'll touch upon later. Once again, there was no long waits in line to get into the convention. I think the longest I heard was probably 15 minutes tops, and that was including like buying your ticket and then going through security to get into the convention. So it wasn't really long. People were just zipping throughout the weekend. Overall, the vending hall was another solid place to visit this year. There was over 200 booths in the vending hall to visit, and there was over 50 artists in the Artist Alley section alone. All of them had awesome artwork to look at. Solid vending hall. The gaming setup was impressive yet again. I like that the river overlook rooms in hallway located on the top floor was filled with tabletop games, board games, card games, a video game room, a Starship Bridge simulator, and an escape room. Honestly, it's the best gaming setup that I've ever seen at a Comic-Con in this state. Very impressive. Hats off to everyone involved in that. It was cool to see that there was a platform given to independent filmmakers to show off their stuff. 22 short films were screened during the convention weekend. I'm also glad that the Grand Rapids Comic-Con brought back the Grindhouse Short Films Showcase. As I've said in the past, I've always had a soft spot for campy movies with terrible acting and underground B movies in general. Thumbs up for that for sure. I must note some improvements for this year. The program booklet had a lot of information for each guest, who they were, what booth they were located at, and their scheduled times, when and where for panels and professional photo shoots. Also, the Grand Rapids Comic-Con addressed and fixed the complaint issue from last year by listing how much it would cost for autographs and photos in the program and on the entrance sign for the celebrity booths. It seemed like that helped cut down on confusion on how much was being charged for what at the convention for this year. Another complaint that was addressed that actually helped improve the experience of the Grand Rapids Comic-Con, the main event stage was moved out of the vending hall and into a ballroom. It was a better fit, to be honest. No more overhead announcements interrupting panels, and the audience had a better audio experience in the enclosed room. Let's talk about two new attractions that I saw this year. Number one, the 200th anniversary retrospective on Frankenstein. It was pretty cool to see the history behind Frankenstein's monster and the variations of the story and media. Another cool feature of the retrospective was the chance to meet Sarah Karloff, who is the daughter of Boris Karloff, also known as one of the most well-known portrayals of Frankenstein's monster in popular culture. My only regret is not noticing the retrospective announcement in time while I was preparing for the convention. I would have been interested in conducting an interview with her, but honestly, it's truly my loss for not paying proper attention. I thought it was cool that the Grand Rapids Comic-Con brought this, and I would not be opposed for them bringing that back again sometime down the road so I can have another shot at meeting her, because she was so nice. And number two, as far as attractions go, I like the karaoke area that the League of Enchantment was hosting. The highlight of that whole karaoke area was Zorak from the Space Ghost series singing What's Going On by Four Non-Blondes. I remember I was talking to some friends and there was a change in the room when Zorak went on. I didn't see him go on stage, but as soon as I heard Four Non-Blondes, I looked over to see what was going on, and I saw someone dressed up as Zorak starting to sing that. And I left my friends immediately to go witness that audio greatness that was happening before our eyes. And honestly, I hope that karaoke area returns for next year, because I think it's a fun attraction. The Grand Rapids Comic-Con had a plethora of guests for attendees to meet. Patrick Warburton of Family Guy fame, Ross Marquand from The Walking Dead, Tony Todd from Candyman, Jason Narvey, and Paul Schreier from The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. For those that were interested in the voice acting world, there was two mini reunions going on that weekend. From Ruby fame, they had Aaron Dismuke, Shannon McCormick, and Samantha Ireland. But I know Shannon McCormick and Samantha Ireland from that great show Camp Camp. I know this doesn't really have anything to do with the review, but for those who would like a new show, definitely check out Camp Camp. It is hilarious. But all three of those voice actors and actresses were really nice to meet and so down to earth. Thumbs up to them. And the other reunion that I was alluding to was a Young Justice reunion. They had Zara Vazal, Zeno Robinson, and Jason Marsden, also with Greg Weisman. Every one of those people were super cool to meet. Thumbs up to them. Now that I'm done listing off a few of the numerous guests at the Grand Rapids Comic-Con, actually I would like to give a shout out to quite a few of them. Number one, Zeno Robinson, by far one of the most down-to-earth guests that I had the pleasure of meeting in person. Prior to the convention, I actually was able to conduct my longest interview with Zeno on Skype to help promote his appearance, and he's just so cool. Hands down, super, super nice. Glad I had the chance to meet him. Ming Chen was always cool to see. Apparently 2018 was the year of Ming in Michigan. Saw him at numerous events throughout the year, and I couldn't complain when I saw him at the Grand Rapids Comic-Con. Always a super cool dude to talk to, and just glad that he came out to my side of town for once. Thumbs up to Ming Chen. Seriously, good dude. Gail Simone was a pleasure to meet and a pleasure to interview. She was my 200th interview, and I'm glad that she was the 200th interview. Her comics are awesome. Do some research into her, look into her stuff, and read them and support her. Aaron Dismuke was a blast to talk to at the Grand Rapids Comic-Con. So nice. I interviewed him twice throughout that weekend. Just a cool dude. I know I'm running out of adjectives to describe people, but it's not that often that I just click right away with a guest when I'm talking with them on camera. But he and we clicked, and we cranked out a very solid interview over 2 parts. Just a good dude, and his voice acting is pretty impressive too. Shout out to Aaron Dismuke. And my final shout out has to go to both Carolina Ravassa and Chloe Hollings of Overwatch fame. I interviewed Carolina prior to the convention, and it was fun to conduct that interview with her, but I actually got to meet her in person just to say hello. She wanted to take a photo with me because I gave her a good interview, and I was honored. The reason why I'm giving them a special shout out is because it has to do with my friend Evan. My friend Evan had actually driven over 2 hours to meet both Carolina and Chloe, and then he had to cut out after getting an autograph from them to drive 2 hours back to make it to his job in time. He was in line for Carolina, and she asked him how it was going, and he told her that he was hoping to get an autograph because he has to cut out immediately, like I just mentioned. And what she did was she not only gave him an autograph, but then she helped shortcut him to the front of Chloe's line so that way he can get an autograph from her and make it to his job in time. After I messaged Evan to find out how the autograph signings went, he had actually sent me a message back to tell them thank you. And he sent me a photo of him at his job. Looked like he was working on a farm. And he told me to tell both Carolina and Chloe thank you. I went up to Chloe first to show her the thank you message from Evan. And without prompting from me, she actually took my phone and recorded a voice message to Evan telling him that she was happy that she was able to make it happen for him to make it back to work in time. And she wished him a good day. And then after that, I went up to Carolina to show her the same message. And also without prompting, she had recorded a similar message to Evan. Shout out to those two ladies. Salt of the earth, just wonderful people. I mean, they didn't have to record a message for Evan, but they chose to do that. And I think that's awesome when guests go out of their way to give an attendee a wonderful experience. So my hat's off to both of them. They're wonderful people. Support what they do. And now on to the cons of the Grand Rapids Comic-Con. There wasn't really a whole lot, but there was still some that need to be noted. As huge as the vending hall was, the Artist Alley section was a bit cramped. The aisleways were nowhere near as spacious as other aisles that I saw throughout the rest of the vending hall. During heavy crowd times, it felt like an assembly line when trying to go down the Artist Alley. You couldn't really stop. You just had to keep moving, because if you stopped, you would just block a lot of people trying to get through. So at times I just gave up and just ventured elsewhere throughout the convention. I just hope that next year there's more space given to the Artist Alley section. I guess one solution that I would suggest would be to take down the wall separating the dealer's room from the kids area. It could give the aisles a little more room to breathe overall. Another point of criticism, as I mentioned earlier, that everything was in one central location, and I like that, except for one thing, and that was the Monroe Room. The Monroe Room was located on the way to the Amway Grand Hotel. It was a convoluted path to reach. You had to take an escalator to the second floor of DeVos Hall, then you had to walk down a hallway to another elevator, then you would take that elevator downstairs to reach the hallway where the room was located. It was a bit out of the way. I can't blame the path of the layout of DeVos on the Grand Rapids Comic Con itself, because from what I understand, that was the room that they were given to use for panels. Not all the panels, but for that particular room where they could hold panels. Hopefully next year, the panel rooms will all be consolidated to DeVos Hall, so you don't have to take a convoluted path to reach a room for panels and whatnot. So here's hoping. And one final point of criticism that I wanted to bring up, the app for the Grand Rapids Comic Con. I liked the fact that they were bringing back the app and trying again with it, but however, it still needs some work. It had outdated information, the map didn't work, and it just needs retooling overall. I just stuck with the printed program instead, to be honest. From what I understand, changes will be made for next year, so I'm interested to see what they're going to come up with. I will keep my eyes out come next year. Now that I'm done with the review of the Grand Rapids Comic Con, I would like to leave you folks with this final summary. Once again, I had a great time at the Grand Rapids Comic Con. It was a great way to end my year of convention coverage in Michigan. Honestly, I've never really had a bad time at the Grand Rapids Comic Con overall. It's an event that I always look forward to each year, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. So I am looking forward to seeing what 2020 brings. Grand Rapids Comic Con gets a thumbs up in my book. Well, folks, this is Joe from My Geek Scene. Take it easy.